Hi Model Rail fans, and welcome back to Dean Park Model Railway. I've got something a little bit special for you today as I take a look at a pre-production sample of the forthcoming Accurascale Class 60. Perhaps most of you that are watching will know that the Accurascale Class 60 is due down the tracks Q1 of 2025. However, Accurascale reached out with this pre-production sample and asked if I'd like to test its capabilities around Dean Park, and of course, I politely accepted. I don't know if you've seen my videos before, but I do like a sneaky peek at a new model, and the Class 60, or Tug as it was known by enthusiasts, is no different. So massive thanks to Accurascale for reaching out and trusting me with this pre-production sample, which I'm now going to have to put down because it weighs an absolute ton. As you may know, there are competing Class 60s in 00 gauge. We currently have the Hornby Class 60, which has been a mainstay of their range, being frankly light years ahead of its rivals in terms of detail and performance when it was launched around 20 years ago. We also have the forthcoming Class 60 from Cavalex, which is also due out at the turn of the year. Now, I might not be the ultimate expert in each class of loco, but I'll happily test any model from any brand. Accurascale expect me to be honest with my feedback and put this model through its paces, so I simply won't be constrained from giving an honest opinion. So here it is, the all new Class 60 from Accurascale. This is still very much a pre-production sample, and there are still areas to be addressed and improved before the production ones are released. So whilst I'll cover all areas of the model, I won't be giving it my usual rating, as it's not the finished article, and therefore I don't think it would be fair to do so. However, this closer look will give you guys an idea of what to expect in around 6 months' time. The price of this model is $169.99 for the DCC ready model, and 100 notes more will get you the sound fitted variant. You can pre-order these by clicking on my link in the video description below, or contact your local stockist. However, I wouldn't hang around as over 80% of these models are already allocated via the website, so if you snooze, you may just lose. This is a first decorated sample of the model, but the quality isn't far away from Accurascale's usual high standards. In fact, across all brands, I've seen a real step up in terms of quality recently, and this model is no exception. To my eyes, it has the triple grey nailed. It's up there with their Class 37 in this livery in terms of paint shades and applications. Issues with logo and printing will be addressed on production examples, but even as a first example, this isn't far away. The shape of the body looks really well. You can see the level of detail and attention that's gone into this model, with project manager Steve Purvis clearly knowing his stuff when it comes to the Class 60. The face of the loco will be one area most of us modelers focus in on first, and comparing it to photographs and diagrams that I've got to hand, Accurascale have really captured the Tug's face. From the subtle rake of the windows to the cab front and down to the light clusters, they're all in proportion and in the correct position. And one thing that really strikes me is the fineness of the window wipers. I mean, just look at how neatly those are etched. Of note too are the really well defined exposed horns, which is a unique feature on the brush-built Class 60 locos. Earlier designs and renders of this loco showed an enclosed horn design, like that on the roof of the Class 47 loco. However, one of the main specification requirements was that the horns were required to operate in all weather conditions, including falling snow, so they were mounted in a manner that would not allow rain or snow to accumulate on the horns, and it all adds up to a purposeful look. The black panel along the entire 107-inch width of the loco houses the light consoles. 60031 has original lighting units replicated, while the one I have on order, 60001, has the correct silver-rimmed lights as seen on the real loco, which was a detail quickly dropped as production of these giant locos continued. Accurascale have also been careful to model the correct lamp iron on each loco. There were 3 of these types, which I recently learned while researching the Class 60. The irons constructed being refined as the batch of 100 locos were manufactured. On the number 1 end of this loco we have a full snowplough fitted, with the correct pipework as appropriate, These pipes, while fine, feel robust and well attached on this sample. The buffer beam on this class of loco is clean compared to earlier diesels, as there is no need for steam heat, electric train heating and exposed multiple working jumper cables, the latter being housed behind an access cover on the nose. The number 2 end of this model has a slotted snow plough that will allow you to fit this detail while maintaining a coupler at this end. Of course, these couplers could be interchangeable, so if you want to couple to the number 1 end, you simply swap these ploughs around. The cab on this model isn't the finished article, but does have Accurascale's signature lit driver's console. Further refinements, including painting and printing, will adorn the production models in this area. The cab is lit and controllable via dedicated functions, and on the production models the cab light will go out when the loco starts to move, which is something we've come to expect these days from a host of manufacturers. Along the length of the loco we are treated to an underframe bristling with details such as the 4,500 litre fuel tank, appropriate gauges, filler caps and conduit. Here we have the lubricating oil filler and drain point with fuel tank filler below it. The model has tiny labels outlining the details neatly printed on the body side above them, and Accurascale have also picked out the fire bottles in orange. The bogies are an area of this model that really elevate it above the Hornby offering. In keeping with all newly tooled models these days, it's got far deeper relief than on previous models. We are also treated to painted pipework along the length of this robust looking bogie. I suspect details in this area will vary from model to model in terms of painting of these parts. The loco sits nicely on its bogies with no unrealistic gaps visible from rail level. Cab access steps are in the correct position, as are sanding pipes and boxes, which are fitted at the corners of each bogie. The side of the body on this lengthy model is vertical and slab-like, however the application of the triple grey livery really helps hide this. There are pairs of inward opening engine room doors, which can be opened from the inside on the real loco. It's also nice to see Accurascale have modelled the small lip along the bottom of these doors, which were fitted to the actual loco to prevent water ingress. The side grills into the radiator and fan compartment are really neatly fitted and are made up of brass etch. They allow a realistic view of the rad room, which is bristling with detail. However, it has to be said that Hornby offering also impresses in this area. However, Accurascale have gone the extra mile by picking out the parts in the correct colours, which make it look all the more impressive. You'll get a better look when I take the body off. Getting the body off these Class 6s is so easy. I've just got myself some plectrums. If you're a guitar player, you'll have these lying about the house. If not, Roads and Rails can supply you with these. So I've fitted them at both sides there on the 4 clips. Just slide them in, put the loco down, and off the body comes. And immediately it's clear where some of the weight comes from, because this area here really does add a lot of weight to the body itself. If I remove that screw, there's yet another weight inside the fuel tank area to add even more weight and traction to the model, and it really is a weighty piece of kit. What also strikes me is the uncluttered nature of the PCB and the inside of the loco. That really is tidy, and there's not a lot to snag on or get wires caught in. It really is pretty well designed, and yeah, I'm impressed by that. We now get a better look of this detail without the body. In addition to the work done here, Accurascale will also provide a lighting function so modellers can have the rad room authentically lit at the appropriate time. Details in here include the air reservoir, traction motor blowers and radiator fans and many more parts, which in fear of boring you, I won't go through them all. Above the rad room sits a very purposeful Accurathrash speaker, which even with this model has been fitted with a Class 66 sound file. The flange squeal coming from the speaker is impressive. The decoder fitted to this model hasn't been mapped to operate all the functions, so it doesn't behave like a Class 60. So for the running shots, I will keep the engine sounds muted. Talking about decoders, this model operates in DCC with a 21-pin device, which can be easily accessed by the removable roof panel. Now it's widely known that I'm not a fan of this feature. It does have its benefits to some modellers, but with the body of this loco being so easy to remove, it's not an essential to have. But hey, we all like to access our locos in different ways, and I have to concede that the roof panel does work well, and blends in with the rest of the roof when fitted. Back to the side of the loco and have a little history lesson with regard to the Class 60's side cab windows. When first built, these locos had a two-piece glazing fitted at the sides. However, it was found that this made it difficult for the driver to lean out of the window and look back along the length of the loco. So Brush redesigned this so there was a three-piece glazing fitted, but this was only done at the driver's side and not second man's side. This new window arrangement was retrofitted during the first 6 months of operation onto all locos. This mod gives the cab side a different appearance, and off the top of my head I'm not aware of any other loco before the Class 60 to have this level of thought given to the driver with regard to side visibility. However, if you know differently, please get in touch in the comments section below. Inward opening cab doors are also correctly modelled on this loco as well. Just before I get the loco into action, a quick scan of the roof shows an accurately moulded profile with really crisp etched grills that are superbly fitted. The Class 60 had 8 roof hatches, 4 placed on each side. The exhaust silencer is picked out in silver and is ripe for weathering. It is clipped onto the main body and has finely moulded panel lines, flanges and scale-sized rivets present. There were variations in construction and features added to the roof as the build of these locos progressed, and mainline operation flagged up some issues in this area. These will be correctly modelled on each model released by Accurascale. Okay, it's time for the fun bit. Let's see if this Class 60, like its full-sized cousin, really does have the power to move mountains. Well, what did you guys think of that? I was actually shocked at the pulling power this loco has. At well over 900 grams, this model is not only seriously heavy, but can pull some seriously heavy loads from a standing start on a curved incline. There was no wheel spin or groaning from the motor, and I think I could have added yet more to the rake of wagons, and this Class 60 would frankly have just laughed at it. Of course, people will claim it's not all about haulage ability, and they would be right. However, the model ran near silent and drove really well. The decoder may not be mapped for the Class 60, but the gearing is certainly set up for realistic slow speed running. The Class 60 isn't a fast loco in the real world, and that's been replicated on the model. As I said at the beginning, this is only the first deco sample of this model, but it's certainly got me excited about 60001 Steadfast, which arrives next year. Let me know your thoughts on this rapid review of the forthcoming Accurascale Class 60 by posting those in the comments section below. In the meantime, thanks for watching, enjoy your modelling, and cheers for now.